everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Classic Gamer 74. I am your host, as always, Anthony Gamer, and in today's episode, we're going to be discussing games based on the movie Tron. Tron was a 1982 science fiction film that is about a gentleman by the name of Kevin Flynn, who is a former software engineer who was trying to save the world from an evil mainframe computer called the Master Control Program, MCP. He, along with his friend Tron, battle against this evil computer in the form of programs in order to stop it from taking over the world. This was one of the first movies to use computer-generated special effects, and it was just a movie I really loved as a kid. And of course, being the type of movie it was just tailor-made for video games. Now, when I was a boy, I just loved the cabinet. Here's a picture of it right here. Believe it or not, the first time I saw it was not at an arcade. It was actually at a video store, and really, the game itself was really cool because you had several games in one, which was unheard of at that time. All right, well, that's enough about me going down memory lane. We're here to talk about games, right? So without further ado, let's get into those games about the movie Tron. Okay, now, as I pointed out, this game actually has 4 sub-games in it. Now, you start on this screen and you pick your first event. Or your first sub-game, and the first one is Light Cycle. Now, in this one, it's kind of like that game Snafu. You're trying to cause your opponent to hit your line while not trying to run into the wall or hit your opponent, which I generally do. Next one is Battle Tanks. Basically what you're doing is you're piloting a tank in this maze and you're trying to destroy your opponent before they destroy you. As you can see, I was not really good at this game, but that didn't stop me from playing it. I sure had a lot of fun doing it, and that's pretty much the gist of how the 90s worked the 80s in video games worked for me. And this one, you're trying to get into the flashing light and get around these spiders, electronic spiders. Now, when you played this game in the arcade, it was a little bit easier to play because you also had the ability to turn where you were shooting, as opposed to in MAME. It really translates okay. It's just not really perfect, I would say, by any stretch of the imagination. And the last event is what's called the MCP cone. The player must break through a rotating shield wall protecting the MCP cone and enter the cone without touching any of the shield blocks. Bonus points are awarded for destroying every block in the shield. So this is supposed to be similar to the final scene, the final battle scene with the MCP in the movie. Overall, I have to say this arcade game is a whole lot of fun, and you get a whole lot of playing with just a quarter. Honestly, if I could actually own one game cabinet other than a main cabinet, with multiple games, this would definitely be one cabinet I would love to have. If you have any memories of playing this game back in the day, let me know in the comment section below. I'd love to hear about them. All right, before we get into the other arcade game, I wanted to share this nearly completed homebrew that I found on the Atari Age forums. This programmer wanted to make his own version of the Tron arcade game for the Atari 2600, and he did an amazing job. He told me that it's not quite finished yet. I don't know what is not finished. I think maybe he wasn't able to get the final... he wasn't able to get the light cycle part done, if I'm not mistaken. But overall, like I said, he did a nice job. And of course, you can find this ROM on the Atari Age forums. And by checking out the game footage that I have up here, he did a pretty nice job. Of course, back in the day, this wouldn't have been possible, but with the extra memory that is available to homebrew programmers now, pretty much the sky's the limit. So again, if you'd like to get a hold of this, you can find this on the Atari Age forums. I'm sure that gentleman would be glad to share it with you. And the second arcade game that was released is Discs of Tron. Now in this game, you once again take on the role of Tron, and you are trying to knock your opponent off of this floating platform. Many of you probably remember that scene from the movie. A pretty cool game. You're just trying to line up your axes and hit the guy with it while avoid being hit yourself. Pretty awesome game, and one that I was really surprised never got a real official port, although my brother-in-law showed me that it did get sort of a release on Xbox Live, so really a cool game, and one that I also enjoyed playing a lot as a kid. Mattel secured the licensing to the Tron games, and therefore they made some pretty cool games for their own home system, the Intellivision. What you're looking at here is Tron Deadly Discs, as you once again take on the role of Tron as you are trying to eliminate the evil programs with your discs. You just fling them at them and then try to escape. It's a really fun game, and I'll tell you, hours and hours and hours of fun I have had playing this game. Truly a classic. Alright, the next game is Maze Tron. In this one you are Flynn, and you are travel through a dangerous and constantly scrolling computer world that resembles a circuit board and collect zeros so you can clear the RAM chips that the master control program is using. Opposing you every step of the way are recognizers that will de-res you if you touch them. Use your shield to freeze them in their tracks, as well as to pass safely through some energy fields as you proceed to the MCP. Not a bad game, and definitely one that I think is very underrated in the Tron games. And the last game that was officially released for the Intellivision is Solar Sailor. Now, this was one of the games that used the IntelliVoice, which was a really cool add-on that allowed you to use to hear actual dialogue. Now, in this game, you are Flynn, and you are trying to get this solar sail. You're riding on a beam, and you're trying to get to the MCP, and you have to fire at these enemies that are coming to get you on the way. Now, many of you probably remember this scene from the movie. And then once you get to the program, then you are trying to decode and use some different data so that you can overload the MCP and destroy it. The game itself is pretty cool. Honestly, if you don't read the book and you don't have the overlays, you're going to have a real hard time with this game. But overall, once you get the hang of it, it is a really, really awesome game. And another game that I feel is very underrated overall in the Intellivision library. Now, through their company or subsidiary called M Network, they would release some games for the Atari 2600. Now, one of those games was this one here, and this is Adventures of Tron. In this game, you once again take on the role of Tron, and you are trying to get through these 4 floors and pick up some flying bits, and trying to basically just get out of there without getting yourself killed by these recognizers, light tanks, and grid bugs. Really a fun game. I really enjoyed this game as a kid. I didn't own it. A good friend of mine, also named Anthony, had it, and we just had a lot of fun playing it. Originally, the game was supposed to get released for the Intellivision as well, but it wasn't released, at least not back then. And of course, many, many years later, the version that was intended for the Intellivision would get released. I'm not sure if this is that original version or if this was made later based on it, but whatever. This is Adventures of Tron for the Intellivision, and as you can see, it's awesome, because it's going to be awesome because it's Intellivision. So basically, it's the same game as the Atari 2600 counterpart. Yeah, what can I say? It's Adventures of Tron. It's a fun game. If you get a chance to grab this, I highly recommend it because, you know, it's really a game that I enjoyed playing. And for those that have been waiting for this fabled game to come out for Intellivision, it's finally here. And finally, we have the Atari 2600 version of Tron Deadly Discs. Pretty much it's just like the Intellivision version, and actually the version I played first as a kid. Now, one thing I forgot to mention, that back in the day, if you purchased both of the Tron games, you could get them as a bundle. Or if you purchase them separately and send in some money, you could get this really cool Tron joystick. I'll put that up on the screen right there. Now, I discussed this in a previous episode where I discussed how to play Olympic-style games for the Atari 2600, as that Activision Decathlon game was well known for breaking joysticks. But the Tron joystick is much hardier than other joysticks for the Atari 2600, so just a helpful hint to let you know there. They're pretty reasonable nowadays. Of some of the Atari 2600 accessories, I purchased it a few years ago for a very reasonable price. Now, as a side note, if you hadn't noticed, the joystick looks identical to the joystick that was on the Tron arcade game. And last but certainly not least, we have the handheld, or I guess you could say tabletop, Tron game by Tomitronic, by Tomy, which simulates the light cycle game, and I think it has a second one too, but I can't get past the light cycle game. Pretty cool. Back in the day, those Tomy electronic games were just really awesome, back before we had Game Boys. So yeah, pretty cool game. I remember a friend of mine had this, and I used to just play it and wear down the batteries, and he'd get mad and stuff. But overall, like I said, I just really enjoyed the movie and the game tie-ins. If you have any stories you'd like to share about your memories of the movie and the games, please don't hesitate to post them in the comments down below, as I'm sure other people would like to hear some of your stories and share, and I really like to hear what you have to say. In our next episode, we will go back to our unit on the Nintendo Entertainment System, where we will discuss more rare and valuable games for the NES. Well, that brings this episode of Classic Gamer 74 to a close. I really hope you all enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed presenting it to you. If you did, let me know by giving me a big thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and don't forget to click that little bell icon down there so you'll be notified when I upload any new episodes. Connect with me on all my social media platforms, and please check out my Patreon page. I got some really cool stuff in there, including last year's Christmas special. So please be generous and help us out on Patreon. The link is in the description below. Well, until next time, this has been Anthony Gamer. I wish you guys a continued happy holiday season and a very safe and prosperous new year. Until next time, be strong, be safe, be happy, be healthy, and above all, take care of each other, be kind to each other, and stop hate of all kinds. See you guys soon. Bye for now.